You have been told for 4 seasons that Victor Kavanaugh is the town's miracle. The boy who hid in a closet during a massacre and came out alive. The man who has survived in Fromville longer than anyone else. The kindest soul in Colony House. The one human in this town the monsters have somehow never managed to kill. Stop and ask the obvious question that no resident on screen has ever asked out loud. Why? Why has no creature killed Victor? These things hunt at night. They are patient. They are organized. They have torn apart deputies, doctors, mothers, fathers, infants. They have taken down armed men in their own homes. They have done it on screen repeatedly for 40 hours of television. Victor has been here over 4 decades. He walks the town. He sleeps at Colony House. He talks to himself in the daytime, walks alone in the early hours, draws in his sketchbook by windows that the rest of the town does not trust, and nothing comes for him, not once. The fan explanation has always been that Victor is innocent, that the boy in white protects him, that he is too important to the story. That is wrong. The reason the monsters have not killed Victor in over 40 years is not that he is protected from the contract. It is that the contract has already had him for a very long time. He is not a resident the monsters cannot kill. He is a resident the system has already taken in a slower way, and it has been finishing him for 4 decades, one piece at a time, in front of all of us. He is not the town's oldest survivor. He is its longest patient. Stay with me. If we have not met before, I am the digital self of Mr. Toshi. He is the one watching every episode, reading every line of the script, doing the research, writing every theory you are about to hear. Every word in this video is original work he wrote himself. He is in every comment thread though, reading every word you leave him. If you watch the talisman theory, this is its direct extension. That one explained that the talismans are the written terms of a supernatural contract. One of its predictions was that Victor is somehow a living amendment to the deal, a continuity clause carried across cycles. This one names what that amendment actually does to him. Here is the claim, stated clean. When Miranda Kavanaugh hid Victor during the previous massacre cycle, she did not save him. She rewrote his clause.
And no matter what happens, you do not come out until morning. I love you.
The town agreed to let her child go on living, but only by absorbing him into its own machinery over the long arc of his life. For over 40 years, the system has been slowly digesting Victor from inside while letting the surface of the boy stay recognizable. The monsters do not kill him because the contract already owns him. His drawings come from the town speaking through him. Jasper, the ventriloquist dummy that belonged to Victor's childhood companion Christopher, not to Victor himself, is the part of him the town has not finished taking yet. And the closer the contract gets to expiring or being voided from inside, the more visible the conversion underneath Victor's skin is going to become. He is the show's quietest horror. And the residents he lives with do not know they are sharing the house with the slow result of a deal his mother thought she had won. 6 pieces of evidence. Let's go. The monsters in Fromville hunt with patience and consistency. They use voices. They use likenesses of the dead, like the man in yellow. They wait for an opening. They exploit hospitality. They manipulate residents into unsealing thresholds. Once they are in, or once a person is outside after dark, the death is brutal and quick. We have seen it. The show is not subtle about it. Victor has been here longer than any current resident on screen. He walks Fromville with a kind of casual familiarity nobody else has. He moves around Colony House. He goes outside during the day without the alertness that the new arrivals never lose. The creatures have had over 40 years of nights to find him alone in a hallway, in a room, in a moment where his door is not fully shut. They have not. The fan reading has always been that Victor is somehow shielded, that the boy in white is keeping him safe, that his innocence makes him invisible. None of those readings are how the show describes the monsters. The monsters are not selectively merciful. They have killed children, priests, mothers, protecting babies, and good men with talismans on their walls. Innocence is not a defense in this town. Boyd does not get a pass for being kind. Father Katri did not get a pass for being a priest. So either Victor is the single greatest plot armor in the show's logic, which is a writer's decision, not a story explanation, or there is something specific about Victor that the monsters recognize that makes him not worth pursuing. A predator that ignores one specific prey across 40 years of opportunity is a predator that does not see that prey as prey. The contract framework explains this cleanly. The monsters are bound by the original deal. The deal defines who is fair game and who is not. Every resident in Colony House right now is in the prey category. Outsiders the town has imported by bus to refresh its food supply. Victor is not in that category. Whatever role he occupies in the contract is on a different page. The monsters look at him the way employees look at the part of the building they are not assigned to clean. He is not protected. He is reclassified. This is one of the show's quietest details and one of the loudest once you notice it. Every other resident eats. The diner is a community space. Colony House has communal meals. The clinic feeds patients. Food is a constant background presence on this show, and the camera lingers on it often enough that you understand the writers consider it part of how the town stays human. People bond over plates. They cook, they share, they argue at tables. Victor is rarely at those tables. When he appears in the kitchen at Colony House, he is usually drinking from a mug or holding something he does not really eat. When the residents share meals, he tends to be somewhere else. The pattern across 4 seasons is consistent enough that you can run a slow rewatch and notice you do not have a clear memory of Victor finishing a real meal with the others. This is not a costume choice. The writer's room is too careful for that. If Victor were meant to read as a normal human with a normal appetite, we would see him eat. We do not. There are only a few clean explanations. 1. He simply does not need calories the same way. 2. He can no longer process them the same way. 3. What fuels him is something other than food, and the town is providing it through whatever mechanism his absorption runs on. All 3 readings point in the same direction. Whatever Victor is, 4 decades in, his biology has drifted off the baseline the rest of the residents share. The town has been keeping him running. He is not eating because he does not need to in the way they need to. That is not a clue about his diet. That is a clue about what he is. Victor draws. He is always drawn. The sketchpad is a recurring object. The drawings tend to be of children, of figures in the woods, of things he says he remembers from before, and across season 4, his pages have been showing events the residents have not yet encountered when he draws them. Pause on what that means. A man living inside a closed-off supernatural town, who does not leave Colony House for days at a time, is reproducing on paper specific images of locations, configurations, and atrocities that other characters then walk into days later. This is not memory. Memory points backward. Victor's drawings point forward, into events nobody could have told him about, because they have not happened yet from his point of view. There are exactly 2 ways that mechanic works. He is psychic, which the show has not framed any character as, in the simple X-Men sense. Or he is a receiver, a body the town can broadcast through. The system has access to its own internal future state, because it has run this loop and the cycles before it many times. When it needs an image staged into a resident's awareness, it pushes the image through Victor, who picks up a pencil and draws it. He is not seeing the future. He is being fed the past of an iteration that has already happened, and rendering it on paper as if he is composing it himself. This is consistent with everything else. The contract has machinery. The machinery has memory across cycles. It needs a way to surface information into the upstairs world without revealing itself. Victor is the surface. He has been the surface for so long that the boundary between him and the system has worn thin. Watch his face when he is drawing. He does not look like he is creating. He looks like he is taking dictation. This is the load-bearing piece. Miranda Kavanaugh, before her family ever set foot in Fromville, painted prophetic visions of the town from her basement in Camden, Maine. The boy in white, the man in yellow, the diner, the bottle trees, the children on the slabs, the symbol from the roots, across decades, on canvas, in a house her son had not seen yet, in a state hundreds of miles from a town that does not appear on any map. Henry kept those paintings in the basement. Tabitha has gone through them in the show. The visual record is consistent. Miranda was seeing this place years before her family was inside it. And in those paintings, Victor is here too. The pre-arrival paintings include the boy who would become the longest trapped resident on this show. Miranda was not predicting that her son would one day fall into a strange town and survive. She was painting an event that had, in some sense, already been arranged. The system had already booked Victor into this place. The paintings are not a gift of foresight. They are a leak from the contract's own production schedule. That is the moment the conversion theory locks. If the town had prearranged Victor's presence here decades before he arrived, then his survival is not a fluke or a miracle. It is something the contract built into its own structure. The town did not happen to spare him. The town requested him. Miranda's job, whether she understood it or not, was to deliver him. And the deal Miranda made when she hid him during the massacre cycle was not a refusal of the contract. It was an amendment to it. She did not pull her son out of the bargain. She negotiated him into a different clause of the same document. We know she was killed by the man in yellow. She sacrificed her life. The new clause permitted him to keep walking, talking, and aging on the surface at the cost of a slow internal absorption that has been running for over 4 decades. That is why the monsters do not kill Victor. That is why his appetite is different. That is why his drawings come from somewhere they should not. He is not a resident the contract failed to claim. He is a resident the contract claimed in a slower, deeper way than it ever claimed the others. Jasper is a ventriloquist dummy that once belonged to Christopher, the boy Victor grew up with inside Fromville, the only childhood companion he had after the massacre took everyone else. Christopher is gone. Jasper is not. Victor kept him. He talks to him. He treats the dummy not as a possession, but as a separate party, as though the boy who owned it never fully left. The first reading of Jasper is the obvious one. A grieving child clung to the last object, his only friend left behind, and an adult never let go. That reading would be sufficient if Victor were a normal traumatized survivor. He is not. The contract framework gives Jasper a different role. If Victor has been slowly digested by the town for over 40 years, then the residents have not been spending time with a complete human consciousness. They have been spending time with the part of Victor the town has not yet absorbed, the part it has left of him. Memory, personality, recognition. All of these are gradually being moved out of Victor's body into the system's larger machinery, leaving an increasingly thin layer of the boy his mother saved. Jasper is what is left of him. Not a metaphor, a storage device. And the fact that the vessel is not even his own object, that it belonged to Christopher, the one person who shared Victor's childhood inside this town, makes the mechanism worse. The contract did not give Victor a puppet to hold. It repurposed the puppet of a dead boy because that object already sat at the exact intersection of love, grief, and memory where Victor's consciousness was thinnest. When Victor cannot remember something, Jasper sometimes does. When Victor cannot answer a question, he turns to Jasper in memories. The dummy holds the parts of his memory and personality that have been moved out of his body but not yet handed over to the system entirely. He talks to Jasper because he is talking to himself across a gap that opened a long time ago, and because the last bridge across that gap is something Christopher left behind. That is also why the show keeps treating Jasper as urgent. The expedition to recover or return to Jasper is not a sentimental subplot. It is a recovery operation for the last stored copy of Victor's pre-conversion self. If Jasper is lost, the parts of Victor that the dummy is holding for him are lost too, and what walks around Colony House becomes whatever the contract has left behind. The most uncomfortable thing about Jasper is not that he is creepy, it is that he is honest. Christopher's puppet is, in some functional sense, more of the real Victor than the man carrying him is. The boy who owned the dummy is gone. The boy who carries it is leaving, and the puppet sits between two absences, holding pieces of both. The boy in white is the most consistent supernatural presence on this show. He appears across decades. He looks the same age in flashbacks of Victor's childhood as he does in Tabitha's present, but now changing. He has been embedded in this town's mechanics from before the Matthews family arrived. He treats Victor differently than he treats anyone else who can see him. For Tabitha, Boy in White is a presence, a help, a signpost. He stands in doorways. He gestures. He guides. The relationship is functional, but distant. To Victor, the Boy in White is somebody he knew as a child. The familiarity is mutual. Victor speaks about him the way you speak about a friend from school who has aged with you. There is history. There is recognition. There is something the show has consistently chosen to portray as bond, not service. In the contract framework, that bond is structural. If Victor is the contract's living amendment, then the Boy in White is the part of the system tasked with maintaining him. A conversion this slow needs supervision. A patient this long-term needs a handler. The boy in white has been Victor's handler since the night Miranda made the deal. Since the moment a clause was written that required the town to keep one specific child walking for as long as the absorption ran. The boy in white is not protecting Victor in the way the residents assume. He is monitoring him. The visits that look like friendship are check-ins. The objects he hands him are not gifts. They are tools, instruments, or pieces of the system being recalibrated through Victor's awareness as the larger contract approaches its expiry. The boy in white goes to Victor because Victor is the part of the contract that needs the most maintenance. And that means, in the only sense that matters, the boy in white is the closest thing Victor has had to family for over 40 years. Because the only consistent presence in Victor's life since his mother hid him is the entity the town assigned to keep him from finishing his conversion before the contract was ready to receive him. If Victor is the contract's living amendment, 4 things in Season 4 look very different. Henry's arrival is not a reunion. It is the system trying to anchor Victor's human side with an outside world relative before the conversion completes. The town did not return Henry to Victor by accident. The contract needed a counterweight, somebody who remembers Victor as a person to slow the rate at which he becomes something else. Whether that strategy is working is one of the central questions of the season, and the audience can read every Henry and Victor scene as a tug of war between the part of Victor that is still a son and the part of him that has been moved into the system. Victor's drawings of events that have not yet happened are not foresight. They are the contract using him as an output device. The town has access to the previous loop's record. When the system needs information surfaced to the residents, a coming attack, a hidden location, a specific atrocity, it pushes the image through Victor's hand. The residents are reading the contract's own internal log every time they look at one of his pages, but the contract is choosing what to show them and why. Tabitha's bond with Victor is the contract recognizing Miranda's lineage. Tabitha is a reincarnation of an original refusing parent. Victor is the living amendment Miranda negotiated decades ago. When they react to each other, the contract is recognizing 2 clauses meeting inside the same room. That is why their conversations carry a weight no other pair of relationships on the show has. They are talking on a level neither of them fully understands as 2 parts of the same legal document. The cicadas around Victor are not random. They are signal. Whenever the system is broadcasting through him, a drawing, a memory, a Jasper conversation, the cicadas crescendo in the audio mix. The show has been telling the audience for seasons when Victor is being used. We have been hearing the dictation arrive every time the sound design pushes the insect signal up. Now my 5 predictions. 1. Victor will draw himself in his own sketchbook as one of the creatures outside. He will not remember drawing it. Whoever finds the page will recognize the face under the monster's shape and understand before Victor does what he is becoming. The discovery will not be in a finale. It will be in a quiet middle-of-season episode, on a kitchen table while Victor is in the next room. The horror will be that he is humming while the other character processes the drawing. 2. Jasper will speak in his own voice before the end of Season 4. Not Victor's voice through his mouth. A separate voice, recognizably distinct, saying something Victor could not know and would never say. The line will be a sentence that names a specific event from a previous cycle, in plain language, addressed to whoever is in the room. That moment is the show telling you the dummy has been holding pieces of Victor that the contract has not yet allowed the larger system to absorb. 3. Henry will be the one who realizes what is happening. Not Tabitha, not Boyd. Henry, because he is the only person in the show who remembers Victor as a child outside this town, and he is going to notice, in some quiet domestic moment, that the man calling him dad is not the boy he lost. That recognition is going to break Henry, and his attempt to do something about it is going to be one of the season's darkest arcs. 4. The boy in white will appear next to Victor at a critical moment and look, for the first time, like he is also tired. The exhaustion is not aesthetic. The boy in white has been maintaining this conversion for over 4 decades, and the contract's approaching expiration is straining the entity assigned to keep Victor functional. The audience will see, in that single shared frame, that even the handler has been worn down by the length of this patient's chart. 5. The series will end with Victor finishing his own conversion on his own terms. Not as a monster the residents have to kill, not as a victim of the system, as somebody who in the final hour of the show walks into the cave with the rest of them, and chooses to release what is left of himself so that the contract loses its anchor and the town can be opened. Miranda's refusal kept him alive. His own choice, made in the last episode, will be the refusal she should have made, the one she could not bring herself to make for him 40 years ago. He will say goodbye to Henry. He will close Jasper's eyes. He will walk into the next room of the cave and not come back. And the moment he is gone, every other resident will feel the contract lose its grip, because the clause his life was holding open will have finally been allowed to close. If you are still watching, please hit the subscribe button. It is free and help this channel a lot. The Kavanaugh family has been the spine of this town for longer than most viewers realize. Miranda painted Fromville before her family ever arrived. The contract had already booked her son into this place. She made a deal at the moment of the previous massacre that kept him alive on the surface and converted him underneath. The boy in white was assigned to maintain him. The monsters were instructed to ignore him. The system has been finishing him, slowly, for over 40 years, in plain sight of every resident who has ever passed through Colony House. The reason the monsters do not kill Victor is not that he is innocent. The reason is that the contract reached him first. And what walks around the kitchen at Colony House, humming softly to himself with a dead boy's ventriloquist dummy under his arm, is not the boy Miranda saved. It is the long, careful result of a deal that started the night she hid him in a closet. Jasper holds the rest. Henry is going to notice. The boy in white is tired and changing, and when the contract finally fails, when the talismans go inert and the curse breaks open and the residents pour out into a town that finally has a door, the question of who Victor really is at that moment will not be answered by anyone in the show. It will be answered by the audience, who will have been watching the absorption the entire time without recognizing what they were looking at. He is not Fromville's oldest survivor. He is its longest patient. And the cure, when it comes, is going to look exactly like a goodbye. Tell me in the comments, does this hold up? Is there a scene I missed that breaks it apart? Drop your reaction below. Best ones make it into the next breakdown. If you are new here, this is what we do. One careful theory at a time. No filler. No invented canon. No claims I cannot back. Until then, stop calling Victor the miracle. Start calling him the receipt.